into personal development and mindset and psychology and that kind of thing. Basically, from an experience I had in the past where I fell through a skylight on a roof.
Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to Anyone, Anywhere podcast. So today I have the pleasure to have with me Adam Parr. Let me do a quick intro about Adam. Adam is a certificate mindset coach with a degree in psychology. Adam is also the host of the Parrsitivity Podcast, where he interviewed more than 200 people from all different backgrounds. In the present moment, Adam is also a candidate to become an NLP Master Practitioner. To end up, Adam's aim in life is to motivate, inspire, and encourage others to live their best lives. How are you today, Adam?
Hi, Vasco. Yeah, I'm really well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
It's a pleasure to have you on my show. So let's start from the beginning. Can you tell me a little bit about you for the ones that still don't know you?
Yeah, of course. I basically have a podcast. I'm a podcast host, the Parrsitivity Podcast, and I'm also like life coach as well. And for me, I kind of didn't really start out in this field. I kind of tried out many different jobs and things like that, as you do in life, and mainly in hospitality, restaurants, hotels, and did that for many years, and then tried different things out, different courses, and kind of knew deep down that I wanted to do more. I wanted to do something else. I had this kind of deep feeling inside, and I kind of got into personal development and mindset and psychology and that kind of thing. Basically, from an experience I had in the past where I fell through a skylight on a roof, so a glass panel on a roof. I was messing around with friends and I was chasing my ego, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Around that time in my life, I wasn't really thinking about things. I was people pleasing, and this skylight smashed and I fell through it. And a couple of months later, I had PTSD, anxiety, and depression. Kind of all at once, as well as having difficulties at school and in the wrong crowd of people. And that kind of situation that happened kind of was a massive wake up call for me. And I was looking at life in a different way. And then from that event, kind of got into well-being and mental health. And I've kind of always had that interest, even more so since that. And then life's kind of come full circle, if that makes sense. From I got through that. I got through that period of my life, but then over time, I just kind of kept working and things like that. And kind of recently, just in the past couple of years, just got more into it.
Okay, nice. How old were you when that happened with the panel?
Yeah, I was about 13.
14. Okay.
I'm 26 now. Yeah.
Okay. And you were saying that you were chasing your ego. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Well, basically, I was chasing kind of my ego, and everyone has an ego, and sometimes we can have an inflated ego. So for me, I was just kind of bothered about being cool and fitting in with the crowd, the crowd of people that I was around. And some of those people I was around weren't the right kind of people, so I was kind of swayed into their behavior, and I wasn't really thinking about. I just wanted to please other people and try and be one of the cool kids, if that makes sense. Back then, which kind of backfired.
And what we can say that is the difference from the Adam from today?
That's a good question. I would say the person I am today, I'm more grounded. I'm more, I'm not a people pleaser anymore. I'm more genuine to myself. I've kind of figured out who I am a lot more, and I'm not one of these people who chase the crowd or chase trying to be a somebody, you know, to please other people. I take my life more seriously now. Back then, I wasn't thinking about my future. I wasn't thinking about where I was going. You know, being a teenager is difficult. You know, going through being a teenager. But for me, I was in the wrong crowd of people, and I'm more conscientious now. I'm more, thinking about where I want to go and the impact I want to have and that kind of thing, what I want to do in my life. So yeah.
I think it's a big change. And how important is for you, and it was for you, I understand that had a big importance, but the people that you surround today, how that influence you?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think the people, I surround myself around today, through networking and meeting people online, like podcasts and social media and LinkedIn and Instagram. They're kind of handles I use mainly. And, looking at role models on, through books and YouTube. The people I surround myself around, like people who have gone through things in life and kind of come out the other end, people who are in the kind of, the well-being kind of field, business people, entrepreneurs, people like yourself. And yeah, I've just kind of, I think in the recent year, beginning of 2020, I kind of, found kind of more so my tribe. And I remember being in school and kind of trying to figure out where my tribe was, and I'd feel different. And I think a lot of the time we can feel that. And I kind of thought to myself, is it me? What's this gap in between? And yeah, I think it's so important to try and find out who you are and who the people you want to surround yourself with.
I think it's a lovely. It is important, and it comes with another question. How do we know who you are? How did you find yourself? Or
yeah, I would say, I think that event that happened, was a big significant shift for me. It was like a catalyst almost. It was it was something that woke me up and made me literally just shift the way I saw the world. I think when you go through certain things in life, I have mental health difficulties through those times, and it's almost like the best way I can describe it. If anyone has PTSD or experiences that, it's like having a pane of glass and throwing it on the floor and it's smashing to pieces, and you have to repiece that glass back together. So that happened, and then yeah, getting to know myself by pushing out of my comfort zone, I think, and kind of figuring out, what makes me kind of shift and grow, if that makes sense. Especially through exercise. I think exercise helped me a lot during that period of my life, and my energy and working through things definitely helped. And yeah, just not being fearful of situations and looking at how you can grow, and yeah, stepping out into the unknown. And in certain situations, you kind of figure out who you are and what you're capable of. Especially when I worked in restaurants and hotels, there's a lot of things thrown at you from all different angles. You have to deal with a lot of different things. Not like a normal 9-to-5 job. And there's nothing wrong with a 9-to-5 job at all. I'm just saying, you're under immense pressure, and you make mistakes. And I think you learn a lot by lots of different things that happen in life, and especially relationships as well, and things like that.
Please.
And spending time with yourself as well. I think spending time alone.
I love it, and there is, I think, spending time with yourself, I think it's really important, and comes with a question that I wanted to ask you. That is, if somebody it's today in the same position that you were when you were the teenager, which advice will you give to him or to her?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I would say just check in with yourself and really, really think about where you're at, and is who are the people that are around you? Where's your energy and time going? And is it really worth it? And ask yourself, what is it that you kind of want to do in the future? What impact do you want to have? Like, and why? Trying to figure out your purpose and your why, because I think they're the main kind of foundations. And that's something I've been thinking about a lot recently. Is that people sometimes say you need to do this, you need to do X, Y, Z, and it's like, well, it's difficult for some people to do X, Y, Z before they even find out why they want to do X, Y, Z, or their kind of deeper purpose, if that makes sense. So trying to figure that out, I mean, we're all on our own path. So yeah, I think kind of looking at your life and the things that you're around and things that you're surrounded by, and are they serving you? Are your behaviors serving you as a person? Are they having a good impact on other people? Because a lot of the time, especially if you're in that place and you're surrounded by the wrong kind of people, or you're caught up in that entanglement, you don't know half the time when you're in it until probably something happens.
For you,
That makes sense.
It was that moment that that make you, I don't want this for me. I want to surround myself for another kind of persons, have another. And so my question is, how psychology and personal development help you passing through or understanding better that phase?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think personal development and coaching really helped me. I think coaching's very person sensitive. People sometimes get it mixed up with counseling. Coaching's more, future focused and where you are now. It touches base on the past, but it helped me kind of realize things, behaviors and things that I was doing in the past. And, I had therapy in the past from when I was going through things, and, it really kind of helps. And I think you kind of have to go to a vulnerable place, and it's not the most comfortable thing in the world to do. But I think ultimately, like personal development and, seeing yourself grow as a person, and then kind of realizing that, you can help other people through that field as well, if that makes sense, and help provide value to other people, and understanding what, empathy is, and, the power that we have as people, that, we ultimately have a choice at the end of the day, how we want to map our lives out. And a lot of the time we have this, this blueprint and the script of why things are how they are. We consume what goes on around us in society and life, and we paint this picture of, based on our set of beliefs, and it just goes on. So I mean, once you can tap into these things, then you can make changes over time. It's not instantaneous.
Just have to go deeper to maybe to see a real change in yourself because how important
people
please
sorry.
please
But people have to be open to it. People have to want it, and just to be patient. Because I mean, one thing when I was going through all that turmoil in the past, I kind of I was kind of coming from a victim. I was like, why is this happening to me? Getting frustrated, getting frustrated with myself, because I think as people we want things now a lot of the time. But yeah,
I will totally agree with you, because I think we live in a society, and part of it it's good, and that is a fast food society. We are used to instant gratification, to have, like, if you want a burger now, you will eat it. If you want, I don't know, to see a movie, you can see it in 10 seconds. So
yeah,
takes
exactly.
a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And how do you think that is the best way to develop that kind of awareness and patience?
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I've always, I think as a young kid or child or baby, my mum, I've always been told I've always been very aware. I've always had this awareness, but I think to develop, awareness and patience, um, patience is an ongoing thing that I still have to check in with myself, because we're only human, and like you said, we do live in a society where we want things now. So I mean that's something that I'm constantly checking in with myself. That's like an ongoing process. But I think to be patient is to, like you said, try and look at the long term gratification and understanding that it's a process. There's a process to most things in life. Like podcasting. I think podcasting helped me learn a lot about the process and patience because it takes time. You have to do the video, you have to edit it, you have to make the picture, you have to put it on social media. All of these things you have to have. You would know this, patience. So I think when you understand that it takes time and it's just how things work, um, that's what helped me. And I think awareness to increase your awareness and to grow it is, I think, by learning about yourself, kind of tapping into into yourself and learning and shifting your energy and accepting who you are and life experiences. I think life experiences shape your awareness and shift your awareness. Even probably experiences that people sometimes take for granted. These little, it's that 1%, all that, that 1%, it all builds, all these different things all build into your experience and your awareness of who you are. Um, regardless of what kind of experiences they are, I think that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I think yes, it's for me what I understood. It's just walk your journey, your path, and that will give you the awareness. And
I think, sorry, I think some of the awareness as well might depend on your environment. Where you live.
For sure. Like you're surrounding the people that surround you, or even the time that I think that it's really important. Also, the time that you spend with yourself, like you were saying. I think that it's something that we should. The more time that you spend with you, maybe the more you start to listen to yourself. I'm not saying maybe meditation. What is your way to spend time with yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was working in hotels, I had a lot of time by myself. I had shared staff accommodation, so the hours are unsociable. So a lot of the time, I was by myself. But I think like now, like being by myself, going for walks, spending time, when you're in the car, maybe, for me, by myself, traveling, traveling is a big thing. So I know it's a bit difficult at the minute, but through traveling, you spend time by yourself, if you travel alone, or just forcing yourself to spend time by yourself. I mean, that kind of thing. But I think it's important because you have a lot of time for self-reflection and you have a lot of time to, process things and think about things. I think especially now with COVID, as well, it's, people were being forced to look at things, things like that. It can be uncomfortable, but I think ultimately that's how how we can grow. It's an opportunity, really.
It's not an easy path, but yeah, it's something that we should do. I think the more conscious and self-aware that you are about yourself, I think more true to your path you will be. At my point, also you were talking about a deeper purpose. Do you have, or do you believe in having a deeper purpose?
I mean, I kind of thought about this recently. I've had the conversation with different people, and I think everyone's here for a reason. in this world. And I think, like deep down, we have a lot of potential to be, something or somebody, or to do something. I think you've got to ultimately do what makes you happy. I mean, there are people out there who do certain jobs and they go home and they relax and things like that, and they're happy. And I think so some people, and it's absolutely fine. Some people don't want to do what other people are doing, and that's okay. They have their own choices, and they have family, they have things that make them happy. And there are some people who want to do X, Y, Z and build businesses. There's a separation in life and society between certain kinds of people, and that's absolutely fine. But I think, like, but people who are doing that, might have a purpose to have a family, have a home, and have a family, and to bring up their children the best they can. Someone might want to be an entrepreneur and go into business and to earn a certain amount of money. That's. But I think, like, ultimately, there's a purpose, and there's like that why, as to why you want to do it. And I think a lot of the time people can sometimes get stuck. Some people, we can get stuck in situations where we don't think about these things. I mean, I was in that situation before COVID. I was always just working in restaurants all the time. And yeah, I did enjoy it, but I was just spinning my wheels. I didn't have that time to stop and think too much. I know I wanted to go into something, but I was so caught up in work. If that makes sense.
So of course you were, like they call it, the rat race. That you are working. Like you were talking about COVID. What were some of the lessons that you are taking, because it's not, unfortunately, it's not finished, that you are taking from this?
Yeah. I think from COVID, I mean, it's there's so many spectrums of COVID. I think, with people, like, there's a lot of people who are suffering really bad from it. I think there are people who, in their businesses, and they're doing much better than way before. I think, there's so many strands of it. But for me, it's given me that time to work on my podcast, which I started last January. It's given me time to connect with people like you, and given me time to network and to focus and provide value. It's given me that time to do that, whereas before I didn't. So I'm kind of more trying to kind of focus to kind of what makes me happy, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And more aware of who I'm spending my time with.
Okay, it's two great lessons from 1 year that it was not a easy year. And you were talking about the podcasts. Why you start a podcast? Why did you start it?
Yeah. I started it because I like people. I like connecting with other people, and I wanted to do it a couple of years ago. And I started watching, Gary Vee, Joey Diaz, and Joe Rogan, and those kind of people. And I was like, yeah, I kind of, why can't I do something like this? But I worried for about 2 or 3 years, and I didn't do it for 2 or 3 years because I was like, what are people going to think about me? How am I going to be perceived? Is it going to work out? All that kind of like BS. And I just kind of took the leap, and I just kind of did it to connect with other people and provide value, because I kind of thought to myself, why not do, similar to your podcast, like, how can I provide value, get to know people and what they do and why, and what's their story. Because I think, everyone's kind of got a story to share. And it's like, if you can help people in an organic way.
So true. And let's see, like you interviewed more than 200 people. Like what are some of the lessons that you took from, because 200 people, it's a lot, from that 200 interviews?
Yeah. I think kind of learning to put it into a nutshell, I would say, being consistent with, keep on doing what you love, and to follow in your passions and your dreams, no matter what. And I think as well, to have different backup plans, and just to follow, your heart and your intuition. And I think, I've met different people from different backgrounds, and just learning that everyone is everyone is their own person. Everyone's a different person. And to be patient, to, be persistent in what you're doing, and that those little 1%, matter. They kind of build. And I think, meeting different people from different perspectives, of different walks of life, it really does kind of make you think more about your own life, and maybe things that you could possibly do, or, because you meet people who've had some crazy things happen, and they've kind of turned it around, and it's quite inspiring, when you see other people's kind of perspectives. But I think everyone should do a podcast, well, whatever it is, whatever it's in.
For sure, I will totally agree with you. I think it's a great way to connect with people. And after you pass that barrier of fear, it's awesome. I think it's an awesome experience. And tell me a little bit, if there is, what is the difference between being, or if there is, a life coach and a mindset coach?
Yeah, so they kind of fall in the same category, really. I mean, as a life coach, that's, pretty much like the title almost. And then a mindset coach is just a different kind of niche or kind of area within life coaching, if that makes sense. Life coaching is like at the top, like the kind of umbrella. And then there's all these different strands that kind of connect into, like nutrition coaching, relationship coaching, mindset coaching. So there's a whole different strand. I mean, so mindset coaching is kind of more or less, how your mind works, like goal setting, tasks, thought patterns, and, kind of getting you from A to B, if that makes sense. That's kind of where I'm at the minute. I don't particularly, people will say, what's your niche? And that's just something that, I'm kind of focused on at the minute, but I'm pretty open to help people, within whatever way I can, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm still learning. I'm still finding my feet in that field. It's, like I said, it's a process.
For sure. And how do you describe your mindset?
Yeah, I'd say my mindset, I'm pretty focused. I'm pretty goal orientated. I'm driven. I can overthink sometimes, which kind of doesn't work in my favor. I can overthink things, especially when it comes to like goals, and sometimes trying to rationalize what goal to do. Because sometimes, like me as a person, I've got a lot of energy. So I try and do like sometimes probably too much, or I try to do, 5 or 6 different things, more than. So that's my own lesson. But yeah, I'm pretty driven. I'm focused, passionate, and I kind of want to provide value. If that makes sense,
Sure.
And have an impact.
For sure. And if you can give some tips, like how to improve your mindset. You were talking about goals, goal setting, and behavior and patterns. Can you give some tips in your area, please?
Yeah, I would say to improve your mindset, I would say, as a foundation, think about, role models and mentors. And, this is to start off, role models and mentors, books, reading, learning books, like health and well-being, psychology and business books, trying to learn other people's, patterns and things that they went through. And then I would say start by, writing things down. I mean, everyone has their own way of working, but I think, Perhaps it might be writing a gratitude list. Perhaps it might be, meditation or mindfulness. It might be exercise. It might be, writing down, making a list of the things like prioritories, on a scale of 1 to 10, and breaking it down, if that makes sense. But it's different for each person.
For sure. Which ones do you apply to you to have, if we have to give like 2 or 3?
Yeah, I basically, I exercise in the week. That helps my mindset and that helps my, my well-being. So I'll work out. I've just started running again, which is pretty difficult, but you just have to go through it. So exercise, I would say gratitude list, like a planner, if that makes sense. Kind of grateful for what you have, and do a list. It might be, your clothes or your car or your family. And it brings you more into the present as well. Being present brings you more into the present. You're more appreciative of what you have compared to what you don't. I mean, it's a discipline. It's something that you just have to try and get in the habit of doing, and it's hard to begin with, but just trying to do that, and having a healthy routine. I think trying to get a healthy routine.
You want to talk a little bit more about how it is your routine, your morning, please?
Yeah. So I mean, so for me, wake up. I mean, it's going to be different for each person, but for me, I wake up. I try and get up 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, and this is the confusion where I think that happens with people. People sometimes think, okay, if you get up early at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, you're going to have more time in the day compared to someone else, right? But it's kind of like what you do in that time. You might get up at 5 o'clock and then you might not do anything, and it's kind of what you do. And I don't get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Everyone's different, but I think it's what you do in that time. But yeah, I get up in the morning and then I will, have coffee, breakfast. I will work out. I do press ups at, my house. And that's something I've just built over time. And I'll go for a run, a couple of times a week. And then try and prioritize what goals I'm going to be doing today. But when I'm doing a podcast, I get people who book a podcast. So, it does the goals that I need to do. I don't always do them at the same time, but I try and have goals or tasks for the week. I'm learning not to be too hard on myself if I don't get them done, because, life happens. And, other than walking my dogs and trying to get out the house, going for a walk, because we're in a lockdown in the UK right now. So I like to get outside and walk my dogs, get some fresh air if I can. Trying to spend time with family. I know it's difficult for people. Some people aren't with their family and things like that, but trying to touch base with people, who you connected with online, that kind of thing. And I'm trying to read more. So it's kind of where I'm at.
Love it. I think it's a great day, and it's with some. For me, it helps also, and I understand the exercise. It helps you a lot, and being outside. I understood, and also like writing in different way, being grateful.
Yeah, all of these things, and I think I play video games as well, and I do that throughout the week. Not as much as I used to, but I have to have that downtime. I have to have that time to myself to relax and wind down. And I think there was a post I commented on LinkedIn, and it was like I think there's a Gary Vee post, and he talked about giving yourself that downtime at the weekend, or that time to just chill out. Because I think a lot of the time people are always working, and sometimes even me, I can feel guilty if I play a game or watch a film sometimes, because I'm like, perhaps I should use that time to do something else. But we need that time to wind down, because it kind of propels you to the the week ahead if you have that bit of chill out time. So yeah.
No, and I love it. The one that you said it about, wake up at 5 a.m. But it's not what time you wake up; it's what you do with your time. And I love also, I will go because you write it a sentence in your Instagram also, and you can talk a little bit more about that sentence, please. We all have the same time, the same 24 hours, as Elon Musk. You were talking.
Yeah.
Please, can you talk a little bit more about this sentence?
Yeah. It kind of highlighted to me because I was trying to think of a quote to write on that post-it note. And I was thinking, a lot of times people say I haven't got time, or, I've said it before, I haven't got time, or I was busy and this kind of thing. And, sometimes we make excuses to, just because we're people. But I think we all have, okay, if you cut out, people say, we all have 24 hours, and yeah, we all have 24 hours. But, say we sleep, 8 hours, that leaves, however many hours. And it's what you do in that time, isn't it, ultimately? And you think of Elon Musk and what he's doing, I don't know his routine or what he does, but he's using this time. Say somebody watches a movie or does something for 4 hours that isn't too productive. He's probably he's investing his time in areas more than us. And I've got a friend called Glenn Lundy. He's been on my podcast. Really nice guy. You should get him on your show. I can try to set that up. And he has a morning show called Rise and Grind. And he does it 5 days a week. And he gets up at 5 or 5:30 in the morning. And he does this morning show 5 days a week. And he's got nearly, I think, 1,000 episodes. But his momentum is carrying him forward in that direction. And there's there's Kobe Bryant, when Kobe Bryant was around, and you think you can look at the best way I think of looking at it is like athletes. You look at athletes who are successful and they're driven in their field. You look at the time that they get up and the amount of hours they put in ahead of the other athletes. That's the difference between them and other people. So it's the time that you use in your day ultimately, and what you do with it.
And let's say, how do you learn how to be more efficient with your day?
Yeah, I think how to be more efficient in your day. I mean, for me, it's something that I'm still learning as a person. I think we're all on this path. I have sometimes days where I might not get as much done as I wanted to, but I try and make that up in the week, and just trying to keep being better than who you were yesterday. And I think trying to be more efficient, getting good habits, trying to be mindful of what you're doing and your actions, and trying to incorporate good habits. Not being too hard on yourself, because you need to relax and probably eat certain things or watch certain things. Don't be hard on yourself, but look at the positive. Try and incorporate positive habits into your life, whether that's reading a book, maybe a bit of exercise, and just building on that bit by bit. And have you ever heard of the compound effect?
But please.
But yeah, like the compound effect. So just building on that 1%, each and every day. And if you're reading a book, okay, start off with reading 5 pages. Build on that. The next week do 10. Or if you're working out, do 5 press ups. The next week do 8 or 10 or whatever. And just that slow build, because everything kind of builds on that 1%. And that's something that I learned, through exercise. And it does kind of work out. But you can apply that 1% rule to pretty much anything and everything that you do. Like do 1 podcast a week. Okay, after a month, do 2 or whatever works. After 2 weeks, do 2 a week instead of 1. Or that light builds on your confidence and everything else. It's not the it's not the easiest thing in the world, but it's just getting in that habit and pushing through those motions. And a friend of mine told me, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And he's, ex-military. So, I mean, you think of the situations that, they have to go through.
I think it's a great sentence, and it's a great way to see it. And And the best way to or the faster way to to develop, like as a person, if you are comfortable outside of your comfort
Yeah.
zone, I think that is the part that is the part that you can grow.
Yeah, ultimately. And I think it's just throwing yourself into, I mean, it's a lot, like I said, we are wired, I think, for comfort and security. I think this is, that's how we're wired. We're wired, to run away from things that scare us. We're wired to seek comfort and security, and that, that's absolutely fine. That's okay to some extent. But I think, we have to kind of tap into what makes us uncomfortable. And the thing is, if you tap into that over time, what made you really uncomfortable a month ago isn't going to make you as uncomfortable, if that makes sense. It's like I was in a networking call last night with some people, and we was having a conversation, and we did like an elevator pitch. And do you know, like the elevator pitches where
Please, can you
you
describe?
so an elevator pitch is where you basically talk about who you are, what your service is, and kind of, what you're basically selling yourself in a short amount of time, as if you was in an elevator with somebody. And I was in this group of call with people that I didn't know. So I went first, and I felt nervous, I felt a bit uneasy. I was out of my comfort zone. It's like swimming out to the deep end, without your life raft. So, I mean, that's like one example, but it's noticing, that feeling inside, like, if somebody said to you, I don't know, it's a bit like a first date, it's a bit like a first date. You're just,
First kiss.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's not easy, and that's like another example. So I mean, the more you do these things, the easier it is. It's like, podcasting,
Exactly.
talking to people, but everyone's got a different past and a different background. So this is what makes people different, if that makes sense. But yeah.
Mhm. And I love it because also here you have the compound effect applying, like you were saying. And I also love, I think it's when you understand it, like and after the compound effect, like you were saying, it works in the two sizes, because if I eat a chocolate every day, the compound effect, you understand. Or if I read, or
Yeah.
if I run 5 minutes every day, it will also. I think it's a great takeaway from the interview. I'd like to ask to my guests, what is your definition of success?
For me,
Please.
I would say definition of success for me. I would say it's a good question. Let me just try and
Please.
yeah, definition of success. I would say for me is kind of doing what you love in life, and finding your thing, growing in that field, developing yourself and uplifting other people. And if you can have a positive difference in some aspect, and ultimately kind of do what live what you're passionate do what you're passionate about, and yeah, having an impact, I think that makes sense. And like, I think if you do what you love, the financial side of it will follow. I think a lot of people are driven by money and things like that, but I don't think that's ultimately what makes people happy, if that makes sense. That thing by itself. So yeah, that's kind of what kind of success is to me. I think being happy, doing something that you enjoy, and one day I want a family. So that's one thing that kind of lines in with that.
I love it. No, no, yeah. I think, yeah, money, it's a tool too, but
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be the and depends also of your background and what you know about money, but it's a tool that you can achieve, like doing something that you love. I think you will have much more pleasure spending that kind of money, at least.
Yeah. I mean, you have to kind of see it like a byproduct, isn't it? It's a kind of a byproduct of kind of what comes with probably something that people do. But success, I mean, this is like the kind of big kind of question in life, isn't it? Like, what is success? What is happiness? And these kind of parables that we're kind of figuring out, if that makes sense. And what is the right kind of success? What is the right thing to make you happy? And I think society teaches us certain things, like house, kids, all these things, and education, and all of those are important. But I think there's a big script that other people, a lot of people compare themselves to other people, and oh, that person's happy, they've got X, Y, Z, and things like that. So I think it's a very, very big thing, but I think it's very personal, isn't it? To each person, it's different to each person, and it changes, I think, as well. For people, and that's okay.
And after it's like you said it, because we have to come to that part that, like, comparison, like you were saying, with others, like me comparing with you, it will not help me to be a happier person, I think, like.
Yeah, I definitely, I mean, that's sorry.
No, please go.
I think we can sometimes do that as people, and I definitely, I mean, I saw my social media, and this is the thing with social media. I love social media. I think it's a tool. It's how you use it. But I saw some guy put, I've got 3,000 downloads on my podcast in the past 2 weeks or something, and I was like, ultimately, like, and I kind of thought about myself, and I was like, oh man, I'm not as, part of me thought, I'm not as good as that, or what am I doing? Automatically, and I felt shit, and then I was like, okay, well, I had to let go of it and just think to myself, well, he's on his path. Okay, good for him. You have to kind of rise above it, if that makes sense, and just understand everyone's on their own path, and just trying to be. You're kind of in competition with yourself in some way. You have to look at the competition with other people, but ultimately it kind of comes down to ourselves, if that makes sense. That can be difficult. It's tricky. I mean, we're human beings. We have to we have to deal with things that come up for us, if that makes sense.
No, for sure. And like, I think, like you were saying, being present, being as a observer of yourself, like you were describing, like you were, because I think it's normal, we live. How much followers do you have? How much views? How much downloads? And you have to come, like, first know your why, like you were saying. I think and after, I think it helps if you see that you are doing your podcast for a bigger purpose, like to help somebody. That, I think it's very important.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think, I'm happy if I help one person, just one person, that's the thing. And I'm not one of these people who are driven by numbers. I'm not driven by downloads. I'm not driven by likes. I'm not, if I put out a post and it gets 15 likes, then fine. If it gets 5, it gets 5. It's still, it's who likes it. It's not about the numbers. That's something that it took me time to learn, because half the time in the past, I wouldn't post things because I was worried about how many followers I'd get. I was kind of orientated around that, but I kind of had to, really think about things. But I don't think, because I think in that way it's just a short-term gain, and it's not healthy, because it's like people just getting their own gratification for posting certain content. And it's like, if you can put something out there that helps somebody, I think it works in your favor more. That makes sense.
Totally. And like you were saying, like the more that you expose, I think, and I think, like you were saying, also trying to bring value in some way to the others. I think And you use social media as a tool, like you were saying. I think three great tips that you bring to the table. I think, at my point of view.
Yeah.
Let's go about
No,
legacy. What is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
that's a good question. I would say, if I can help other people and basically, be an example to other people that, you can, you can be and do whatever you want, and by, trying to provide positive value through my work and what I'm doing, and, kind of building those connections with other people, like kind of being a bridge to connect people between other people, that kind of thing. Um, it's not really something that I've thought about too deeply, if that makes sense. So like, I'm just kind of thinking right now. Um, but I want to do well, and I want, to have a family, and trying to be that example that, to follow whatever it is that you're passionate about, to try and help other people along the way, isn't it? I've never really, my family, my mom's always said to me, I'm happy for whatever you want to do in life. That makes sense. A lot of people sometimes are told this is the way, this is what you need to do. So I kind of want to be someone who can help other people along the way, and try and make some difference in the world. You know, on a big scale if possible. I think and having conversations like this, and putting it out there, it's leaving like your imprint, isn't it?
Mm, for sure, and already I think like with your podcast, you already leave part of your legacy. It's already being built because like taping, like it's I think it's a great beginning, and also like also giving to others, like helping the others works. I think yeah, it's a I will describe as a higher purpose, if we can say it.
Yeah, that's it. There's definitely a higher purpose to it, and I think, when you connect to people in your tribe, and you find it, other people inspire you to do things, and to tap into other areas. I mean, I saw, so I kind of discovered your podcast through my friend Agnieszka, Isolation TV.
Mm-hmm.
She was on your show. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she's a friend of mine, and I saw yours podcast through hers, and she's a great example, and she's a great person, and like, people connecting with people who can force you to do things, that kind of thing. It's all, um, quite contagious
I think yes.
in
Yeah,
a,
no,
in a
and
good way, if that makes sense.
it is. No, 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 and networking, yeah, of course. It's like the way the contagious in the way that we network each other. It's a great way to meet nice people like you. And you were talking about books, reading. Which kinds of books and podcasts are you listening? If you have time to listen, also podcasts and books to read.
Yeah, yeah. I podcasts I started reading. Podcasts I
Yeah.
started listening to were Joe Rogan podcast. I think most people know who he is. He's got really good guests on, and he's really good. I think Impact Theory, Tom Bilyeu, I think his name
Mm-hmm.
is. Um, who else? Those podcasts. Guy called Joey Diaz. He's a stand-up comedian, and he kind of shares a lot of guidance and things from his life. He's pretty explicit in his language, but he's got a heart of gold. Gary Vaynerchuk. He's very motivational, and Simon Sinek, and those kind of podcasts. And books, I read. I think one of the first good books I read was Think and Grow Rich. I think it's one that people have thought a lot about, and heard of. Think and Grow Rich. Um, I'm reading a book now called The Third Door, which I've almost finished, called by Alex Banyan, and he basically talks about, there's three doors in life. There's, for one example, you queue up for the nightclub, and you go into the nightclub, or you go in the VIP section, or you go around the back to get inside. But in hindsight, he talks about, reaching out to people and basically finding your way around different scenarios. There's always a third door around a scenario, if that makes sense. That kind of thing. So he talks about his own experiences, and it's a really good book. And he interviewed lots of successful people. Another book I just read recently was called it's here actually. It's called The Art of War. Is it here?
It's
by
Sun Tzu.
Yeah, Sun Tzu. I can't pronounce his name. It's not the right book. Anyway, I can't find the book, but it's the Art of War. It's written in the 6th century, but the principles in it can be applied to business and things like that. Right now.
No, and really nice podcasts and books also, like, boom. Really nice. And let's talk about the projects. Which projects do you have for 2021?
Yeah, I would say right now I'm trying to build my own website. So I'm trying to incorporate my podcast and my coaching and everything into one. I've been thinking about doing, kind of free kind of webinar courses, that kind of thing, trying to create a course or something. I'm trying to monetize and reach out to sponsors for my podcast, that kind of thing. And it's trying to just keep building on my coaching, and I'm trying to read at least a book every 2 weeks. So I want to try and read more books, and keep doing podcasts, and to keep on being on other people's podcasts. And that's kind of where I'm at the minute.
Love it. And yeah, exactly, like building your brand, not just the podcast, but your brand as a coach also. I love it. What is the best way for the people to contact with you?
Yeah, people can find me on Instagram at Parrsitivity94, and in my bio I have a landing page with all the links in one place. You can email me at adam.parr994@gmail.com, and you can find me on LinkedIn as well at Adam Parr, Parr.
I will put after the links in the description.
Yeah.
Also, you have a sentence that I didn't. I have 2 more questions to do at least.
No, it's fine.
Let's go.
It's perfect.
Perfect. So we should all be trying to make the world a better place compared to how we once found it. What is your tip to make the world a better place?
I would say, trying to make the world a better place, I would say, by working, on your craft, and trying to, to be, an example, and providing value to other people, and being kind and more empathic, and trying to make a difference to other people, whether that's, whether you can donate money, or if you can be kind to somebody and be there for them, trying to do that, trying to do things that, that you probably don't usually do, or, reaching out, providing value, I think is key. Because everyone's got their own kind of choice in life, but I think ultimately, there's a lot more that we can probably be doing, if that makes sense. So trying to do that.
Just try to plant a positive seed. I think it's a great advice. Any last thoughts or words that you want to share with me and with the listeners?
Yeah, no, just like to say, massive thank you for being on your show, and, I really appreciate people listening and watching, and just like to say, whatever situation you're in, or whatever you may be going through, there's probably, someone else out there who's going through it as well. And sometimes, you can feel frustrated and alone, and, pretty much 9 times out of 10, there's someone else out there who's going through the same, or been through the same, and it just makes you feel, more human. Especially now with COVID, I think, a lot of people experiencing lots of different things, and guaranteed if you, I recommend to people, network, go on social media and can network with people, and don't ever be afraid of reaching out, because I mean, if you don't reach out to somebody, the answer is no. If you reach out, you might get a yes, and worst case scenario, you might not get a yes or no reply. But guaranteed, if you keep on knocking at that door, you probably get a reply. And people, I think a lot of people out there just want to help and connect.
Yeah. I think it's a great advice for the times that we are living. And yes, exactly, like with the social media and the internet in general, you can connect with people all over the world. So we don't have borders.
That's it. And the thing is, you don't know what opportunities are going to open up from meeting those people. It's like a spider web. It's like if I had in an example, I wouldn't be on this show if I probably hadn't had connected with Agnesh. Yeah, or if I would have searched for your show or seen it on something else. So I mean, it's all these kind of things that have a knock-on effect and all align. And if I hadn't have reached out to you, you wouldn't know. And it's when you peel back all those layers, it all kind of makes sense.
It's a nice way to see it, because it's like a spider web. A movement that you give here, the vibration it will end in the end result completely. I think it's a beautiful visual way to see life and to see the connections that we make with each other. Adam, please.
No, that's it. Yeah. No, it's like your listeners as well, and the people who listen. We don't know what's going on with people's lives, and they might listen to this and they might reach out to you and email you, and they mentioned it to somebody else, and it's how it rolls, I think.
No, and another point that like you were saying, like sometimes you think that I'm the only one with that problem, and there is another 9 persons like that are sharing the same situation than you. And I think that
exactly.
make it easier. That makes the problem easier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's
Adam,
powerful.
It is. Thank you so much, man. It was a great pleasure
welcome.
to have you in the show. I wish you a great year, all the projects. Good luck with the website, with the coach, and continue the podcast, my friend. Thank you so much for the opportunity, okay?
No, you're welcome. It's great to be here.
Guys, don't forget to give a thumbs up on Adam's Instagram. Give some love, and great life to everyone.
All the best.